It was a normal day. The sun was out shining. The sky was light blue. The grass was moving softly. The wind was blowing. Birds were chirping. Then I realized I came into existence. For 30 seconds, I was just watching, lying on the grass, not moving, thinking about the world I came into. I felt peaceful. I then closed my eyes for a minute because I was feeling tired, but I instinctively wanted to stand up, and so I did it effortlessly. But when I realized that I just did, I almost lost my balance. Then I tried walking. It took me some time to get used to it, but then I got the hang of it, although I was walking oddly and strangely. Then I went into the woods. It was darker than outside, of course, and it creeped me out a little. After a while of being there, I got out of the woods, and then just sat down thinking about what I was witnessing. And I must say, it was scary and fascinating at the same time. I saw a tree nearby and it had a branch which was about to fall. I moved towards the tree, grabbed the branch and pulled it hard. When the branch was finally broken off, I fell and hurt my arm a little. Ow! This was the first word I ever said. I got scared by hearing these sounds. I looked behind me to identify who made that noise, but nothing was there. Then I realized that I was the one who made the noise. I tried to do it again, and I made some sounds. For example, ah, eh, I, ooh. Then I got interested by the branch. There were some leaves on that branch and I picked them up. For some reason, I tried to eat leaves. I can't remember why, but I did. And I instantly spit them out. Then I grabbed the branch, swung it around, and threw it. I didn't achieve anything, but I was proud by myself. After that, I walked around a little bit, looking around. I even picked up some flowers and I thought they looked weird, but also beautiful. They were roses, blossoms, dandelions, and pops. For me, however, the dandelion was my favorite, due to the way its little petals flew away in the wind. But then I saw something. It had the same color as the sky, but it was on the ground. How could that be possible? I was really confused, so I got closer to it, and there it was. For the first time ever, I saw water. It was a river. I looked at the water and saw myself. At first, I didn't realize it was me, but I didn't get scared or anything. I just stood there. But when I raised my arm and did it too, I got weirded out. So I raised another arm and that is when I knew. It was my reflection, and that I was seeing my body and my face. Well, funny enough, I didn't really care. All I wanted to do was to touch the water. When I touched it, I instantly pulled it out because it was really cold. For a minute I paused and then I tried to touch it again. This time, I didn't pull the hand out. It felt nice how water was hitting my hand. After some time, I got up and stretched. Then I saw huge boulders in the water. There were a lot of them. I did the unthinkable and jumped on the closest boulder. I fell and hugged the boulder tightly, and the first time ever, I felt true fear. I got up and jumped back on the land. At first, I was relieved that I was not on the boulder again, but then I felt regret. I really wanted to continue jumping on those boulders, but I didn't know why, but I wanted to do it. I decided not to and just walked away, but then regret came back. I ran back at full speed to that boulder and jumped on it. I once again fell and hugged it tightly, but this time I wasn't that scared anymore. I picked up the courage and jumped on the next boulder, and then to another boulder, and then to another. After I jumped over 6 or 7 boulders, I tried to jump to another boulder, but this time I slipped and almost fell into the water. I really wanted to get out, and so I jumped back on the land. I had no intention to go back to the river. As I was walking, I saw a cliff, so I decided to go there and stand on the top of it to look at everything. But I had to get through the firs to get to the cliff, so I ran towards it. I kept running and running until I became tired. I sat on the ground for a while until I realized I was thirsty. I didn't really know this sense really, but I had the urge to drink and wanted to drink ground sky, as I called it in my head. So I got up and ran towards the river. When I got there, I thought how I would drink the water. First, I thought I should get into the water, but I was too scared to do that. Then I thought I could drink it with my hands, but I was too clumsy, and before I could drink it, the water leaked through my hand. But then I thought I could just lie down and just drink it like that. And so I did. And from that point on, water was my favorite thing in the world, and I was full of energy again. I ran back towards the cliff, but then as naive as I was, I stopped in my tracks, and my attention went to ants. I looked at them for Lord knows how long. There were billions of them, and I looked at all of them. Some of them were going in their holes, some of them had small pebbles in their tiny arms, and some were just walking. After some time, I finally got up and went into the forest. There were sticks and twigs everywhere, and I picked one of them. Then I saw something white up one of us. I put my stick towards it, and there was nothing there. I took a large breath and turned around and saw it again, but this time it was just sitting there. It was a rabbit. It was looking at me confused. We were staring at each other for about 3 minutes. Then I decided to get closer to it, and as I did, it got scared and ran away. I was confused, but I didn't really question it. I also threw the stick away because I thought it was useless for me. Then I headed towards the cliff and all of a sudden, I saw a scroll on a tree. At first, I thought it was the rabbit again, but then I scrapped that idea because it was orange, and it wouldn't have made sense for it to run so fast and got into that tree, let alone climb it. This time, I decided to ignore the animal and just continue. As I was minding my own business, noise kept bothering me. I tried to brush it off, but it was getting to me. So I looked and saw a nest. There were baby birds chirping. There were 3 of them. Then their mother came and had a little worm in her mouth. She fed it to her young ones. This was a great sight to see, so that's why I sat down again and just watched. What can I say? I was only a few hours old, and everything seemed interesting to me. I loved being alive every single second. Anyway, as I was watching them, a sudden gust of wind knocked me over, and not only me, but it also knocked the nest over. I rushed towards the nest. It was also flipped over. So I flipped the nest back over and accidentally birds were falling. I managed to catch 2 of them, but the other one fell to the ground, and sadly, it was not moving. I didn't know what happened, but I know now. I killed a bird. But nevertheless, I put 3 of them, even the dead one, back into their nest. And luckily for me, the nest was not that high up, so I could put them back easily. Anyway, I decided to just go and not look back. At this point, as I was walking, I was getting tired and just hoped that I would get to that cliff by now. I closed my eyes for a bit and then I hit something. I accidentally walked into a rock. Then I realized it wasn't a rock. I looked up. It was a cliff. I was happy to be there, although I wanted to be on top of the cliff, not below it. So I thought maybe I could climb it, and I started climbing. But I fell every time, and I tried for half an hour to climb it without success. I was becoming really frustrated at this point and just sat down angry. After that, I tried to figure out how I could get up without climbing. And I figured it out. But that idea, it really made me madder at myself. Not because it was stupid, no, it was just because it was easier than climbing. I could just go around and up to it. So I got up with a frown and went towards the side. Then I saw a small hill. I went up the hill and behind me, I saw it. I saw the top of the cliff. I decided not to run towards it and just slowly enjoy my accomplishment. And when I got there, I was done. The view was gorgeous. I saw everything, the river, the mountains, the forest, everything. It was extremely satisfying to see this. Behind me, there was a small rock, and I decided to sit and put my head onto it. As I was watching, I noticed that the sun was setting. I got scared because it was slowly getting darker and darker. I also decided that I would stay there for quite some time. As time went by, the sun was no longer visible, and thus it was nighttime. I got a little colder, but the actual thing that creeped me out was the darkness. The only thing that was keeping me comfortable was the moon and the view. I heard wolves howling, which really scared me, and I tried to look around just to make sure nothing was there. 10 minutes later, I was getting sleepy. I focused all my effort to stay awake, minute after minute. I broke and peacefully fell asleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was confused to see that the sun was out and that it was suddenly warmer. Well, I didn't think about it that much. What I thought about was how interesting yesterday was, and how I would love to try and learn new things today. But this time I had a feeling. I felt uncomfortable. I was hungry. So I got up and started going down the hill and to the forest. All I needed to do was to put something in my mouth and swallow it. I was talking about eating if you didn't know. So I ran and ran until I saw a tree, and close to it I saw it. For the first time ever, I saw a person.